Hello, Calling Up community. I'm Claudia Alec, and today we are reflecting on fake forgiveness and the fauxpology. So, in the United States, one of the performances that maintains and reinforces white supremacy culture is the fauxpology and the fake forgiveness that comes after it. So, the person will do a performance that is so egregiously outside of the accepted behavioral standards in terms of its sexism or its racism. It rises to a level where it's very hard to ignore, and something has to be done. And so then that person, that public figure, then in order to maintain their ability to keep being a public figure, must say some language. Now, if they do a real apology, they are acknowledging the harm that they've done, the impact that those actions had, and they're indicating that they're not going to repeat that. They're going to work to make sure that that doesn't repeat itself. The faux apology indicates that they are confident that they haven't done anything wrong, that they don't really need to apologize, that they're actually innocent of any wrongdoing, and everything they've done has always been good, and they should be allowed to maintain their status and privileges in the world. The faux apology is not an actual apology. The fake forgiveness performance is usually done by an institution, and that allows the institution to say, well, we had an accountability process. And the accountability process is the performance they do so that status quo can be maintained and things can move on. Sometimes they will force the person who was most harmed to be a participant in the forgiveness, the fake forgiveness performance. They will force that person who was most harmed to stand up and say, well, that person said the word I'm sorry came out of their mouth. Lots of other words came out of their mouth that sort of undid those two words, and they've given us all a clear indication that they aren't sorry, but I guess I'm not going to complain or advocate for my rights anymore. That's the result that people want. The result they're looking for is a cessation of call outs. This is not a call up, it's a call down. They just want people to stop calling out. They just want us to stop acknowledging that harm was done. This performance that we are breaking down and reflecting on was, of course, inspired by larger public events. So several days ago, a Republican representative named Yoho, he, instead of doing his job, he decided that he wanted to get angry and yell some mean words at another representative, AOC, who's a woman of color. So instead of actually doing his job, advocating on the facts and working for the best things that his constituents needs, he was just screaming at the woman of color on the steps and calling her a bitch. And in fact, if I understand the performance correctly, he did that super tacky performance of she had fully not engaged and walked away from him, and he had to yell, "You're a bitch." Or maybe he did it sotto voce. I'm actually unsure of the details of this piece of the performance. All I know is that he called her a bitch so that other people could hear him say it. That's a performance that I've experienced before, where I walked away from the conflict and the person felt they had to yell something at me because that was all they could do. It's an act of impotency. It's an act of pathetic nastiness. However, it's also an act of breaking the rules of congressional performance. As a congressperson, there are some base level things you're supposed to do. You have to dress a certain way. There's a level of ways of speaking you are supposed to engage in. And ironically, these ways of working together, because there is supposed to be an adversarial nature to a certain extent to this lawmaking, but it's also supposed to be collegial. Like they're supposed to be working together to find the best solutions for all of us, not only advocating for the very narrow thing that they want to have happen. And ironically, a lot of these rules of decorum, of communication, were put into place to disallow marginalized people from actually being able to perform in their fullness, in their realness. But AOC is doing the professional script very well, very professionally, very respectfully. And Yoho, Representative Yoho, he broke that script. And therefore, he had to apologize to all of Congress, not because he had insulted her. She didn't need an apology. He insulted all of governance. He brought us all a little lower. And then instead of actually doing a real apology, he did a faux apology where he informed the room that, you know, if they thought that he had said something mean to her, that isn't actually what he had really done. And also, so he hadn't actually done the thing that they were going to try and hold him accountable to. He didn't even really do it. Also, he's related to women. Therefore, he is always innocent due to his proximity to other women. And also, it's prophylactic innocence as well. He can do anything he wants in the world. He's related to women, so he understands women. So he can't do anything negative to women. And also, he refuses to apologize for his passion. All of these things came out of his mouth, and the institution said, okay, you've done the apology, we can move on. But AOC, Representative AOC said, hey, how about we not allow all of Congress to be brought a little bit lower? How about we not, as a group, confirm that this is okay and that this behavior will be allowed? How about we not do that? How about we hold ourselves accountable to the standards that we're supposed to be holding ourselves accountable to? Let's not be hypocrites. Let's actually do our jobs. After she says this, what happens? Another performance, another call down from other Republican talking heads, representatives, who do not want us to actually have a culture of calling up. They don't want us to do better. They only want us to do worse. And so their arguments are, believe the lie. They repeat, it was an apology. It was an apology. It wasn't an apology. It just wasn't. Like, he starts off saying, I didn't do what I said you did. And also, like, I'm not going to apologize for passion. That's literally not an apology. But the call down will force us to say it was an apology. Why? Because the group coercive performance of forgiveness is what solidifies this as dominant culture. Each time these performances happen, we are re-solidifying, we are disturbing and re-solidifying what our culture is supposed to be. So, for all of the folks out there who want you to repeat the lie that that was an apology, don't do that. White supremacy culture only works when there is no truth, when there is no integrity, when everybody's dirty, when everybody's a liar. So white supremacy culture will always be trying to force you into these performances that lack fundamental integrity. You can tell when someone is speaking fundamentally without integrity. These politicians right now who are doing a call down, who are suggesting that the requirement that Yoho actually do his job and not run around just screaming expletives at congressional people that he disagrees with. Those folks want you to join them in solidifying a culture where Yoho, that guy, that's how things run. AOC is hoping that we can do better. So AOC is doing a performance that is a calling up performance. All right, so some loose reflections on the fauxpology, which you have received some information on before, as well as this coercive performance of forgiveness. The other thing to keep in mind is that in these larger public performances, you are always part of the story. So when Congress does the fake forgiveness, they're representing you. Maybe you should call your congressman, call your representative, and let them know how you actually want to be represented.